focus for all of us ought to be on where Christ dwells within ourselves and what that actually means. Because we have ideas of what it means that we generate in the mind, but what Christ actually is within us manifests itself through our choices and our behaviors that we do without the mind. Your body will reveal what you are and what Christ is within you. So if you are proud and egotistical, then it will show on your body, in your body, through your actions. And likewise, if you are humble, if you're seeking forgiveness, atonement, if you are bowing your head and trying to focus on what is good in life and what is good for other people in their journey, then this will also reveal itself. And I do feel like one of these is discipline. People think discipline is just, well, I don't want to smoke anymore, or I don't want to drink anymore. It's way deeper and more complicated than just a bad habit or a toxic sort of recurring pattern. Discipline is facing sin in the way it is unique for you. So one of the things I would like to see in society, but I pray I won't see, is the ability to reflect on the hubris, on the arrogance, on the illogical approach to walking the road. We have a connection, and that connection is being severed by a skill saw in the hands of wicked and bad-intentioned individuals. People who are, and perhaps generationally, have been removed from the presence of God. They don't believe that there is a God. They don't believe that Jesus died for us. They don't understand the depth of the Holy Bible. I believe, from what I've read of the Holy Bible, that God himself would be disappointed in his children if they claimed to understand everything. And even worse, I think God may, I have to be careful with the words because I can be a hypocrite in this very argument, allows the wisdom so that we can glorify him. And that's not just to make some God in the sky bigger or to pump someone's ego. We all benefit. And that's what God's message really is. So when you are within the presence of God, you are honoring the example that he set manifest through the corporal system, through your body, through your organ system, through all of the layers of time, to have this sort of idea like, well, this is what God does, and that's what God does, and this is what God wants. It's hubris. So when you say, I believe, well, that's based on your study. But when you say assertively, this is what God does, how do you know? It would be wrong for me to say, well, follow me, because I don't know. But my challenge comes from a place of concern, because the false righteousness is actually a blind confession of ignorance. Again, that false righteousness is a blind confession of ignorance. Do you really think that it's godly to give people no choice? Friends, think on that alone. Is it godly of you as a Christian to tell people they don't have a choice? Of course not. If the example is to be followed, God gave us a choice and gives us a choice every day. So it brings me back to discipline. Part of discipline is skepticism. Why? Because if you're not skeptical of what you are doing, if you are not critical of yourself, not in a self-demeaning, self-deprecating, depressed sort of woe is me, I'm a victim, which is wasteful. But if you're not critical with your eye on yourself, then how could you go through the seasons such as the winter and not reflect? How could you not worship the spring and the beauty of all these blooming flowers and trees and leaves and birds and bees and everything? How can you appreciate anything? And that's the point. There are folks in this tribe of ours who have objectively, meaning with the eye one can see, they have decided that they know better. They've decided that your life is in their hands and they get to call the shots and they get to take away your choice. And they operate out of fear. Sin is forgiven because it was allowed to be in the first place. But your discipline is to be able to see it. Today, the world is inculcated, pervaded, being consistently molested by avoidance. And that's not discipline. Dancing around an issue, avoiding confrontation, avoiding conflict, avoiding discomfort, all leads to the same problem: weakness and a dependency on pleasure. I believe, based on my life and what the soul in me always has felt drawn to, while you're in the shadow, while you're in the darkness, while you're in pain, while times are hard, while you have doubts, while everything around you seems to be crumbling and falling apart, while your relationships are in question, while your faith in yourself is in question, while everything is bad, that's when you smile. And that act is love, because it is in spite of the ease with which sin manipulates us from the top down. It starts with the mind. Sin begins with the mind. So the point of this, I would hope, the tip of the spear here, is seek discipline and understand what discipline really is. Discipline is not avoidance. Discipline is not, well, maybe I'll cut back on my calories. Maybe I'll smoke 1 pack a day instead of 5. That's the colloquial modern idea of discipline. Discipline is courageous understanding of the Christ within ourselves, seeing things for what they truly are, accepting what is seen. And I'm not talking seeing with your eyeballs. Sometimes, yeah. I'm talking about seeing with the ocean of the Holy Spirit that dwells within, and respecting that, fearing only what it will do to you if you don't take action, if you don't choose for your soul. If you choose for your body, but you don't choose for your soul, you will surely suffer needlessly. And there's even the risk of being out of the presence of God, which I believe many are, but we smile and we understand this is our task. This is our choice to make, we make it. The inception of this imperative underlying this talk is the idea that I woke up this morning with a deeper voice and thought, this is the voice that I wish to have, but why? Because I believe this is the voice that comes out of the other side of discipline. When I thrust myself back into being on the river and leading people for their safety and for their joy, and to give them an embrace and to love them and to take care of them and to look into their eyes and absorb the moment, share the moment, it is an everlasting, humbling feeling. So this, I believe, is the boon, is the blessing, the return. How to continue this, how to continue being humbled, how to continue seeking the discipline, how to continue with the healthy life, knowing that it's not all up. We say take comfort in the Lord. And right now, people are talking. There are rumors of war. There are actual wars. There's a lot of death. There's murder. There's evil. There's wickedness. There are liars and deceivers and false prophets everywhere, trying to find the words to convey what this thing is. And I believe that this thing is what God wills in us to share so that we can break the chain of ignorance, arrogance, and hubris. As long as the tribe puts pressure on us, because the wicked who have murdered their way to the top of the hierarchy. The people who are outspokenly atheistic, outspokenly depraved, illogical, irrational, violent, whatever you want to say. But the psychopathy in our world necessitates discipline in us to see for what it is. And instead of lashing out, being bitter and petty, to look again to Christ as the example and to embody that as best we can, so that even if we are slain, even if we are tortured, even if we are burned, even if we are slowly drained of our life energy, if we are taxed and brought down, that they pale in comparison, that they have no real effect on our soul. We won't let them. Parents, families must accept that Christ gave us choice, gave us free will. And that can be very hard to balance out. It's hard to watch people's behavior and say, that's fine. That's free will. That's choice. Even the keystone of my argument right now is the criticism of behavior in the tribe. But it's still free will. It's still choice. So we have to reevaluate what our objective is. Not just how we're looking, not just what we're looking for, but to evaluate what the goal is. Is the goal to change people the way we want them to be? I believe that the world, and know from experience that the world will improve when enough of our tribe reflects on the wickedness and takes action to correct course for themselves. It's a cumulative compounding effect. If one good deed leads to 10, where is the logic of stopping that progress? So again, families and parents, it's important to understand that the children have choice and free will so that they have the opportunity to cleanse the soul, to cleanse the body, to learn for themselves and not fall into the control mechanism of fear. I see a lot of over-the-top, preachy information. Things like, God is order and the devil is chaos. That's not entirely true. Because your perspective is so unbelievably oversimplified. People speak like that. They say, oh, God is everything in order, everything structured, and the devil is chaos and confusion. Okay, in general, I understand what they're trying to say, but it's not entirely true. If you look out from your window and you look at nature, it is so chaotic, it's not even funny. You've got trees that grow from the ground up, and you have squirrels that play on the branches and collect the food. You have birds that nest at the hinge of the branch and the trunk of the tree. You have insects crawling around in the soil and even on the tree itself. It's chaotic. Animals are killing each other to survive. It's chaotic. But that is God's creation. That's not the devil's creation. So this oversimplification of big figures, big ideas, this oversimplified view leaves out the nuance of life. And I would even say that our emotions are a blessing, and we should have the power of will over our emotions. I do believe that the chaos being implied is the devil's effect, the hypnotic effect on the group, creating frenzies, creating riotous moments under the guise of saving the world or whatever, being a good citizen and so on and so forth. The human control apparatus to make someone afraid, so afraid of disappointing their friends, family, community, group, political party, allegiances, institutions. The systems of fear, the apparati of fear, are Satan, and they are full of control. They are full of order. Order at all costs. If you don't fall in line with our demands, you're a deplorable. They killed Christians by the tens of thousands, millions throughout history, if it's to be believed, have perished from the earth just for believing in Jesus Christ. If that doesn't communicate, before this gets crazy long, many of these words I've said before, and that's okay. The Holy Bible repeats itself, right? Life is like water. It moves, it freezes for a time, it evaporates, gone before you know it. And as we collect all these pieces from Scripture, from the spirits around us, as the water in us communicates with the water in someone else or in something else through experience, it is opening a door, an opportunity to understand. I hope more people will open that door and not shut, lock, and throw away the key because they're afraid. And that's what it comes down to. Fear itself is a waste, and the group will make you afraid of disappointing them, of going a direction they don't approve of. And we cherry pick, say, yeah, well, maybe going to festivals and doing drugs and having profligate, variable sexual relationships, risking your body's well-being and so forth and so on. We cherry pick. But we always understand that that's the human ego that's cherry picking. That's the human weakness that says, I want to control you. And so again, you understand that God and Satan are incomparable in that effect. You can't say one is the opposite of the other because that's an oversimplification. If God is all, then you have to understand the message he's allowing us to receive and the role that Satan plays in this production. I'll leave you with this idea. When you're with your family, when you're with your society, when you're with your group, and you look at them, and you listen to them, and you breathe, if you're honest, do you feel in the middle of yourself that they are inspiring God? That they're inspiring life, warmth, enthusiasm, reality, honesty? Are they embracing all of the elements? Or are they rejecting some in favor of others? Are they trying to control the narrative? Are they trying to sway so that someone gains? Are they making you afraid of something? And what is the result of that? What happens after you're afraid of it? Do you take action because you're afraid? What does that action involve? Listen to the words. Listen to the claims. If God's working through me, allowing me to suffer and experience this world, then I'm praying by opening my mouth and sharing it outward. People can really hear it and understand they're not alone, and their feelings that they have in their gut and their core, the feeling something's wrong here. That's not your fault. That's a good thing, because when they, the group, the institution, the community, when they apply that psychological technique, when they apply the pressure down onto you, you know that it's wrong. You can feel that it's wrong, but you don't know what else to do. So you fall in line. They know all of that. And that's how they get away with the wickedness. And that's why they're afraid of Jesus, because Jesus is the chain breaker. Jesus is the one. When we say he breaks the chains, we're not just talking about the shackles of poverty or the shackles of servitude and slavery. We're talking about the shackles of the spirit, the thing that they use to control. And it's fear. Fear is the chain to the ball on the earth. Make no mistake, that statement right there can be interpreted multiple ways and should, because they have us believing in an upside down world. Go out and create life. Go out and look at people in the eye and breathe and feel something and let God work. And that's where faith comes from. Let's begin. The first, 2 Kings 14, verse 6. But the children of the murderers he slew not, according unto that which is written in the book of the law of Moses, wherein the Lord commanded, saying, The fathers shall not be put to death for the children, nor the children be put to death for the fathers, but every man shall be put to death for his own sin. Because this is Old Testament, I think it's clear to see that the Lord of that era was more punishing, and there was obviously a transformation once Jesus Christ came. But we spend so much time focusing on the New Testament that we forget some of the valuable ideas of the Old. And this Old, it's not even fair to say old and new, because look, this is a timeless thing we're dealing with. But the idea of this one I liked was the fact that a father should not be responsible for a murderous, violent, maniacal, crazy son. Why should you kill a father of a crazy son if the son is out there and the father is pure? And likewise, right? If you have a father who's alcoholic, abusive, negligent, whatever, why should you punish the child? So it's a responsibility call. This is a call for responsibility. Every man shall be put to death for his own sin. So if you're an assassin, if you're a murderer, you will be put to death for that sin. Now that death might be the death of a relationship. It might be the death of your health. It might be I don't think it's obvious in the sense of like, oh, your head's going to get cut off. There are many ways to die. Some slow, some fast, and you don't know how it's going to happen, but it's written, right? And the idea here is you can't just shift the blame. Take responsibility. And also it accounts for generation. You are the father of the coming generation, right? So you're setting an example, and they shouldn't suffer for your mistakes. You should suffer for your mistakes. Now, this section, I find incredibly important for today's world, because what's going on is there's just a lot of illusion, there's a lot of confusion, and there is a whole lot of evil that is being covered up because of serving idols and doing wicked things in the face of God. It is happening more now than ever in history. So this whole section of Kings 17, interestingly enough, right? 17 is the God number. But this chapter 17 is very powerful, and there are a lot of codes in here that have to do with today's situation. So let's go into it. I think it's really beautiful. And we're going to go straight to 9. So 17 verse 9, and we'll start there. Here we go. All right, here we go. So 2 Kings chapter 17 verse 9. And the children of Israel did secretly those things that were not right against the Lord their God. And they built them high places in all their cities, from the tower of the watchman to the fenced city. And they set them up images and groves in every high hill and under every green tree. High hill is hierarchy, so system of a society where those who are manipulative and powerful get their way. Under every green tree is signifying fruit bearing, right? A green tree means the leaves are growing, means it's healthy, means it's bearing fruit, but it could also be construed as money. So they set them up images and groves, images, illusions, and groves, places where people frolic in every high hill. So wherever the powerful are, quote unquote, and under every green tree being presumably some kind of money or resource. And there they burnt incense in all the high places, as did the heathen whom the Lord carried away before them, and wrought wicked things to provoke the Lord to anger. We're seeing this today. They're using money to sacrilege. They're using their resources to spit in the face of God. I mean, you see this when they opened up a tunnel in Switzerland, and they did this huge satanic dance ritual with Satan, like with a goat's head, committing sexual acts with humans, right? This idea right in front of everything. They're using this money to show off what they can do in the face of God. On to 12, for they served idols, whereof the Lord had said unto them, ye shall not do this thing. Yet the Lord testified against Israel and against Judah by all the prophets and by all the seers, saying, turn ye from your evil ways and keep my commandments and my statutes, according to all the law which I commanded your fathers, and which I sent to you by my servants the prophets. Notwithstanding, they would not hear, but hardened their necks, like to the neck of their fathers, that did not believe in the Lord their God. So that neck, hardened their neck, has to do with the brain and the skull. If you can bow, if you can tilt your head down, if you can relax your neck, that means that you're capable of humility. But if you hold your neck, stiff, it's defiance. It's I can't bow to you. I can't give away power to you. I know better. My head is bigger than everyone else's, right? And they rejected his statutes and his covenant that he made with their fathers, and his testimonies which he testified against them. And they followed vanity, here it is, and became vain, and went after the heathen that were round about them, concerning whom the Lord had charged them, that they should not do like them. This means the Lord saying, don't be like those other people. If you're my child, if you love me, if you are my creation, and you are pure, and you want to be part of this family, don't go with those. those who are not of me, those who have chosen a different path, who have been manipulated by another principality, those who have become vain. And we're dealing with this right now, like out on the river, people are vain. I was thinking about this morning. After enough time and enough alcohol, the spirits in people's bodies, it becomes a competition of entertainment. Who can be the funniest? And I'm sure you see that too out there. Who can be funny? Who can be entertaining? And if you're not, you kind of get shoved out. And that's a good thing in the end, because you should be close with God. You shouldn't be close with the vanity of mankind. This isn't about impressing anybody. So they followed vanity and became vain, and went after the heathen that were round about them, concerning whom the Lord had charged them that they should not do like them. In other words, people get into profligate sexuality, drugs, copying behaviors of so-called celebrities and whatnot. And they left all the commandments of the Lord their God and made them molten images, even 2 calves, and made a grove and worshipped all the host of heaven and served Baal. So Baal, if you do your reading, you'll discover is a sort of creature, entity, energy, God, whatever, principality, force that represents fire, represents death, represents, and it's not there's a good and bad fire. So his fire would be something like a pain, right? Like a painful fire, not a cleansing fire, but a painful fire meant to torture, meant for passions that lead to decay and disease in the end. But Baal, B-A-A-L, can be converted to the word B-A-L-L. So serving a Baal is serving something that should just be a toy, something we play with. But the idea that we serve a Baal is happening more and more today. These molten images. Where have we seen molten images? So they left all the commandments of their Lord God and made them molten images. So we claim that stars explode, right? With no evidence to back any of it up, of course, but they'll say we have scientists, blah, blah, blah. And they'll say that they get really hot and then cool off. And when they cool off, they solidify into what we call planets. So the idea that they made them molten images brings me to that idea. Even 2 calves, 2 young cows. So I don't know this. I don't understand this code. But there's got to be something related to the bull in front of the stock exchange in New York, right? We created this bull to signify a bull market. But the bull you're seeing through people's noses. People are putting the ring in their nose, and it's the bull. And made a grove, a place where people frolic, right? The woods, and worshipped all the host of heaven and served Baal. Okay, now we're getting into the really juicy part. This is the part that I wanted to share with you most. It's 17:17. So 2 Kings chapter 17, verse 17. Here we go. And they caused their sons and their daughters to pass through the fire and used divination and enchantments and sold themselves to do evil in the sight of the Lord to provoke him to anger. This is everywhere. They put a portal, quote unquote, right, in New York City linking to Ireland. But they've already done this from Lithuania to Poland. So when he says pass through the fire, a lot of times in the Old Testament, as you might recall, he uses fire as a sort of like barrier. So the idea that like Moses had to create the tabernacle, or they needed to create a tabernacle in order to interface with God. And in this case, he's talking about, and by he, I mean whoever decided to share this, right? Whoever at this time shared this wisdom. And they caused their sons and daughters to pass through the fire. In other words, to go through a transformation, and used divination and enchantments. We're seeing this with like rituals that they do, Hollywood rituals, things like that, and sold themselves, prostitution, whatever, to do evil in the sight of the Lord and provoke him to anger. So they know what they're doing. They know that they're spitting in the face of God. There's no ignorance of this. Whenever you see people doing this, in this behavior, they know. Okay, so now it expands to the current situation in Israel, not the country of Israel, because it shouldn't exist. It's not meant to exist as a country like it is. That's a Zionist thing. 18, therefore the Lord was very angry with Israel, means of God, right? Israel means of God, and removed them out of his sight. There was none left but the tribe of Judah only. Also Judah kept not the commandments of the Lord their God, but walked in the statutes of Israel, which they made. This is very important. The last tribe that was given a chance by God decided to create their own rules. The statutes of Israel, which they made. That's what we're seeing today. The Torah, the Talmud, the Kabbalah, these statutes of Israel are not what God, in my estimation, it's not what God intended. It's not the holy, pure behavior. The idea that, if you just read the Talmud, if you just look at what the Zionists of Israel believe, if you look at what they say on television, you look at what they say on recordings, if you can pierce through the veil, if you can get through the illusion that they're the victim, if you can get through the story that they have suffered, blah, 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 if you get through that, the lie, and you get to the truth, you find that they're vicious and they're hurtful and they're hateful and they're small. And this is the state that should not be. These are not the chosen children of God. This is not the behavior that God wishes. This way that they treat the people who have been in this land forever, just because they came in 1948 and decided it's theirs, right? They're spitting in the face of God and they're creating their own statutes. Here we go. And the Lord rejected all the seed of Israel and afflicted them and delivered them into the hand of spoilers until he had cast them out of his sight. For he rent Israel from the house of David, and they made Jeroboam the son of Nebat king. And Jeroboam drave Israel from following the Lord and made them sin a great sin. For the children of Israel walked in all the sins of Jeroboam, which he did, and they departed not from them, until the Lord removed Israel out of his sight, as he had said by all his servants and prophets. Not this again. Go back. So was Israel carried away out of their own land to Assyria unto this day. So it applies to fathers not being good fathers. It applies to generations not being good, responsible generations. It applies to countries which should not exist and groups of people who are confused with a different group. So throughout time, in the Book of Mormon, in the Bible, in just theological example, we see people turning their back, stiffening their neck, hardening their heart against God. And it's happening more than ever now, because we're not willing to pierce through the veil of confusion. And that's what this is affording us. This code, thank the Lord, we have access to this. It's just being mistranslated, so we have to be very careful when we look through it and try to get to the original idea. Let me move forward to chapter 20. Oh, no, this is a good one. So before I go to 20, 2 Kings 17, verse 32, is toward the end of chapter 17. So they feared the Lord and made unto themselves of the lowest of them priests of the high places, which sacrificed for them in the houses of the high places. This is saying that the people who don't deserve to be in power are in power. And we're seeing that more today than ever before. And they perform sacrifices to a God that is not our God. All right, there is a little more. I'm on 20 now, and I want to go to verse 9. Here we go. And Isaiah said, This sign shalt thou have of the Lord, that the Lord will do the thing that he hath spoken. Shall the shadow go forward 10 degrees, or go back 10 degrees? And Hezekiah answered, It is a light thing for the shadow to go down 10 degrees, nay, but let the shadow return backward 10 degrees. And Isaiah the prophet cried unto the Lord, and he brought the shadow 10 degrees backwards, by which it had gone down in the dial of Ahaz. So this is super specific situation, and we need context. I need to dig into this more to understand. But really, this is the question of where the sun is. And the dial of Ahaz is the sundial. And the shadow is how they measured what time it was according to the sun's motion and movement, and the way that the Lord
The way that God would reveal things to people was often through light. So they're talking and they're crying out, asking for signs through that light. We can see this all the time. We have a thought, we have a conversation, we go through a situation, and all of a sudden the light changes, or we notice that the light is changing. We look at the weather pattern, we look above our head, and we see, wow, the sun is taking a weird angle. You and I were in southern Utah throughout winter, and we noticed, or hopefully noticed, how the sun changed from day to day. Like, why is it rising there? Why is no one noticing this? And we think, is it 10 degrees north, 10 degrees south? This is the question. And this is sometimes the way that God confirms or denies these revelations to us. Okay, I'm almost to the end here. Let's just go to 21:13. And I will stretch over Jerusalem the line of Samaria and the plummet of the house of Ahab, and I will wipe Jerusalem as a man wipeth a dish, wiping it and turning it upside down. That's coming. Last one, 2 Kings chapter 23, verse 5. And he put down the idolatrous priests, whom the kings of Judah had ordained to burn incense in the high places in the cities of Judah, and in the places round about Jerusalem, them also that burned incense unto Baal, to the sun, and to the moon, and to the planets, and to all the host of heaven. People are waking up through Christ. They're discovering the illusion, and they're putting the pieces together because it's all connected. It is all connected. NASA, this big space agency that people all of a sudden want to put stickers on their car and wear the t-shirts, is an image. It goes back to that earlier scripture that we humans are creating these images. The image of NASA, the idea of the snake tongue passing over some kind of like planetary star-specked background, this new brand, this new shield to worship. We worship space, we worship sci-fi, we worship SpaceX, we worship these things that steal from us. And we take these people who do not deserve to be in control and we put them in control. And when they say burning the incense, it's we think of incense burning as like, oh, let's relax, let's do some meditation. But I reckon that this idea of burning incense might have more to do with like people's bodies and also worshiping gods that aren't God, the true God. The cities of Judah, this is Judaism. This is the current situation that we have with the state of Israel, which should not exist at the expense of another people. And the places round about Jerusalem, this is the holy city that is in a consistent state of turmoil because of the mixture of people. There's no unity among them. They should be worshiping God, they're choosing vanities and so on. Them also that burned incense unto Baal, B-A-A-L, to the sun, to the moon, and to the planets, and to all the host of heaven. So, really important way to read this is that there is one true God who fills our soul with light, who gives us a chance, who gives us options. The other side does not give us options, okay? That's what this is all about. The Lord came down and became human. The Lord died and was resurrected. And all of this for the chance, for the opportunity to feel choice, to know what that is, to feel will, to not be creatures of survival, to not be mindless zombies. But even though we have that choice, people are not recognizing the power of it. And so this language here, where it says, them also that burned incense unto Baal, to the sun, to the moon, to the planets, and to the host of heaven, this language indicates that they're burning the incense it links you. The burning of the incense links you to the occult, links you to the power structure of evil, wicked people, the wicked, lying humans who worship Baal to the sun and to the moon and to the planets and to all the host of heaven. Those are not good things in this language. The host of heaven, in this case, in this book of Kings, the host of heaven represents the group that is going against God. To the planets, that's something that we have created. That's an idea that we have created. To the moon, this is something that we have misappropriated. It's something that we should respect. It's a weaker light. It produces a negative to the positive being the sun, to the sun. But we're not meant to worship these things. We're not meant to worship the sun, worship the moon, worship the planets. We're not meant to worship the host of heaven. And the host is an army in the front. That's what a host is. So the host of heaven is the one that will leave. It's the one that leaves heaven, not the one that is there around God. And burning incense unto Baal. This is the last thing here, right? It's all connected. Convincing people to worship the idea that we're on a ball, but never having to prove it. And the belittlement and the outcasting for even challenging the notion. The whole, you must be IQ 50 to believe that we live on a flat plane, even though Genesis, first page, says it as clear as anything, what God created here. So this worship of Baal and this worship of a people who don't belong in a certain place because they are vain, stiff-necked, and don't follow the commandments of God, because they're not humble, they're violent, murderous, manipulative, and they're doing it everywhere. It's connected. It's a money system. It's a resource system. And they're taking advantage. They're putting people who aren't leaders. They're taking people who are not leaders and they're putting them into leadership. They're taking these puppets, these actors, they're paying them money and they're putting them into these positions to provoke the Lord to anger. They're selling their bodies, they're selling their souls for influence and status to anger the Lord. This is all happening. And as I read the Bible, I just see it. I see that this transcends time. When I read the Book of Mormon, I noticed the theme. This is all going to happen again and again and again. And that could be demoralizing. But then you think, I still have a choice. Some people would rather not. But this whole thing, this morning, Sunday, at 10:10, this is just one piece of the unbelievable opportunity when we look at the scripture and we think carefully about it and we think carefully about what our role is, what we're supposed to learn from this, what our soul gets out of this, and how we can modify our own behavior going forward to get closer to God. That is the blessing. That is the gospel here. This is one piece from the second book of Kings. And the Bible is long. I mean, I look at this, it's long. There's so much. There's so much. I could pull Samuel, Judges, Joshua, Deuteronomy, Numbers, Leviticus, Exodus, and all the way back to Genesis. That's where I am now, right? I'm at second book of Kings and I'm not even halfway through this Bible. And just look at how all of this applies. So it's a tool. It's not perfect though. And we have to be discerning. And we have to be critical minded. But we also need to turn the other cheek and understand compassion, because it's the only way to truly win in this game. It's the only way to stop playing the game, because the game is broken and rigged. The only way to beat the game is to figure out how to redesign it so that you're not a pawn, so that you're not a piece anymore. So that's why we study the Bible, because it gives us the ammunition, it gives us the information that we require. It is our code to get out of the matrix. The Bible is a code to help us get out of the matrix, and there's so much hidden in here. So, anyway, that's it. There was so much, and it never ends. There's so much in here. We press forward, and we try not to slide back into the mundane. We should be vigilant, and we should be connected to God at all times. We shouldn't just do it in little bursts. We shouldn't be saying, oh, Sunday I'm going to go to church, and then the rest of the week I'm going to go dick around and go against him. And then, oh, Sunday, and now I'm back to being a good person. It should be 100%. That's what we're striving for. That's what I'm striving for. So that's the message of the day more than anything. Learn, apply. And now I can create some humor, hopefully. And not get wrapped up in people's nonsense, because that's very, very easy. All right. Blessings to you.